Are you prepared for an emergency? What would you do if your car broke down? What would you do if you lost your job? What would you do if you were travelling interstate or overseas and you had your suitcase stolen, or your wallet or your passport? What would you do if you got arrested or you got taken to hospital? What would you do if there was a fire at home or at work? What would you do if there was a flood? What would you do if there was no electricity and gas for a week? And what would you do if there was no internet connection for a week? Do you have systems in place? Now, I live in a small gated apartment block. On the ground floor, there are 4 offices and 6 garages. On the top 2 floors, there are 6 residential apartments. A couple of weeks ago at 10 to 8, I heard a fire alarm go off in one of the apartments. A few minutes later, the main alarm went off in the building, and it was loud. In my younger days, I would have just run outside to see what was going on, but now I suffer from a bit of fatigue, so I can't do that. So I opened the door to check for smoke. There was none. So I grabbed my rucksack, some of you might call it a backpack. I put on shoes, grabbed my keys, wallet, hat, put my phone in the rucksack. And in my rucksack, there are lots of small items, including glasses and toothbrush. I put on my watch, grabbed a water bottle, then I poured out half of the water to reduce the weight, knowing that there was a tap outside. It was cold, so I grabbed a jacket. I thought of grabbing a doona to keep me warm in case I had to spend the night outside, but I've got a doona in the car with a few other survival items like a torch, bottle of water, pen and paper. Then I went into my office and grabbed my briefcase. In the briefcase, I had the most important documents that I would need. There was also my passport and backup drives for the computer. So I closed the briefcase and put it next to the rucksack by the door. Now, the next bit was funny because then I wasn't quite sure what to do. I started asking myself questions like, should I take the computer? Should I take a clock? And I've got a film studio with some expensive equipment, and I thought, should I take a camera? I looked at my rucksack, and there's always a towel on the bottom. I thought, did I really need it? So I left it there. And there was a space in the rucksack, so I grabbed another item of clothing which I could wear the next day. My heart was pounding. And I thought to myself, should I turn off the TV? Should I turn off the computer? Then I put on the rucksack, grabbed the briefcase, and I exited my apartment. I left the door unlocked. Then I went upstairs to check on my neighbours. I knocked, and there was no answer. So I tried the door, and it was locked. So then I walked down the stairs, and I had a choice to exit through my garage or take the long way out the front door. There was no smoke or flame, so I walked out the front door. There was a group of people standing out the front. I asked them what was happening. They said there was no fire, just smoke from hot oil on the kitchen stove. I wanted to know what was happening, so I asked the owner of the apartment to show me. It was smoky, but there was no fire, so I went back outside. It was interesting because my upstairs neighbours were outside, and they had to walk past my door on the way out. Yet they didn't check on me, but I checked on them. I asked if anyone had called the fire brigade. No one had. I think we all assumed that the alarm was connected back to some base, which it wasn't. And I had a neighbour come with me and check the firebox. And there was a message which said that it wasn't connected to base and that we would need to phone a number. So I asked someone to make the call. And that was about 15 to 20 minutes after the alarm had first sounded. Someone else phoned the fire brigade, which was unnecessary as we already ascertained that there was no fire. So eventually after 35 minutes, the alarm company arrived and switched off the alarms. 5 minutes later, the fire brigade arrived. So it took 40 minutes for the fire brigade to arrive. If there'd been a fire, the apartment block would have burned down. If we had a disaster prep strategy, then the problem could have been solved in 5 minutes. So this is what I suggest. Design a disaster prep strategy. Now, in an emergency, you've only got a few minutes to grab the essentials and run for your life. This means you need to be prepared. It also needs to be something which you've rehearsed so that it comes quite naturally to you. Because in an emergency, there's little time to think about what you should or could do. You have to react in a way that serves you. So what do you take with yourself when you catch a plane? What are the basics that you would need to continue your life if you lost everything and you ended up as a refugee? Ideally, you would need a rucksack, a briefcase, a suitcase, clothing, car, computer, food, and water. So let's start with the basics. Clothing. In my case, I was already dressed. I got my shoes, I keep them in the same place so I know where they are. I put on my shoes and I got my car keys, wallet, handful of change, and put on my hat. Now they're always in the same place, not far from the shoes. Then I grabbed my rucksack, which is stored near the car keys. Then I grabbed a jacket, which is in the same room. Now this procedure, it's something that I've done thousands of times before I leave my apartment. And you're going to need a rucksack or a backpack, as some people call them. What do I have in mind? Mobile phone, towel, water bottle, sunglasses, reading glasses, toothbrush, toothpaste, dental floss and pixters, lip balm, pens and pencils, notepad, handkerchief and tissues, Panadol, comb, business cards and store cards, and then a copy of my travel lists, which is a 7-page document. So when I travel, I use a travel list as a checklist of what I need to take with me. There are lists of items under the headings: essentials, clothes, bathroom, outdoors, bedroom, kitchen, office, camera gear, and a list for what I require in hotel accommodation. Then I have a list of details about important bills that reoccur, like registration and insurance. Then there's a list of what is required for when I travel overseas. Then I have a list of family, friends, and contacts with their full names, phone numbers, and email addresses. Now, some of that information is in my mobile phone and on my computer. But what happens if the mobile phone battery goes flat? Then I have the contact details for key government agencies, travel agents, and Australian Passport Information Service. And then I have the details for roadside assist in case a car breaks down, and phone numbers for towing services and taxis. And when I travel, I also have a photocopy of everything in my wallet. That is credit cards, driver's license, etc. Now you need to keep that safe, but you need it if your wallet gets stolen. And I have a briefcase which is used to store important stuff like passport and backup drives for the computer. Then important documents like university records, business records, insurance details, passwords, etc. And I have a travel suitcase on the floor in my bedroom. And I use it to store all the bits and pieces that I need when I go traveling. At short notice, I could pack the suitcase with clothes and things and be ready in half an hour. And I've got a vehicle garage downstairs, as well as having the basic tools necessary to change a wheel. There are bottles of drinking water, which could also be used to refill the radiator. There's a wind-up torch, doesn't need a battery. There's a navigator, a recharger for the mobile phone, pens, pencil, notepads, loose change, matches, etc. And there's also a doona, a blanket, and at one time I kept some old clothing, which could be useful if you don't have time to grab clothing when you exit your home. So to summarize, you need to be able to get dressed quickly, grab your phone, car keys, wallet, rucksack, and briefcase. If you had advance warning, then you would grab the suitcase and some food and water, throw it in the car, and drive away. Now, you need to keep in mind the type of emergency that could occur and when they could occur. That is, you need to consider the worst case scenarios, the negative what-ifs. And that's why regular first Regular first aid training is essential. What if there was a fire, a cyclone, a flood, a terrorist attack? What if it occurred in the middle of the night when you were fast asleep? So this is why you need to be prepared and have rehearsed your drill so it becomes second nature to you. Now, as an individual, you can only do so much, but as a team, you can become tenfold, 1,000-fold stronger. So where is teamwork useful? Not just for a football team, but I will suggest everywhere you find a group of people. That means a family could achieve so much more if they worked as a team. Friends who meet up for an activity could achieve and experience so much more. Think of all the areas where there is a group of people and you'll see how teamwork could improve the functioning of that group. People living in an apartment block, people living in a high-rise, people at work, at school, at university, people living in a community, people living in a city, people living in a country. So teamwork, it needs to be established at the micro level first, at the level of family and friend, so that it can then become part of the national identity. Now, in brief, a high-performance team is comprised of a group of individuals bound together by a unifying principle. The team has structure, it's organised, there are systems and procedures. Everyone has a job title and a job description. There are rules which the members agree to abide by. Now, one of the key elements to building a high-performance team is understanding that different personality types think and act differently. And if you want to learn how to build a high-performance team, then watch my 2 introductory videos. You can find the links in the comments box below. If you want to get in touch with me, then you can do that from my website, abbyeagle.com, and I look forward to seeing you soon.